In every era, there are moments when chaos threatens to overwhelm reason, when loud voices attempt to dominate the room, and when conflict seems to drown out clarity. It is in those very moments that the true power of composure becomes undeniable. The story of Kellyanne Conway screaming on live television and Jasmine Crockett's calm and measured reply going viral is not just political theater. It is a striking illustration of how composure in the face of chaos can change the course of a conversation, reframe the narrative, and even redefine how people perceive leadership itself. When the volume rises and emotions flare, instinct often tells us to respond in kind, to match fire with fire, but the ones who truly stand out are those who choose calmness as their weapon. They reveal that calmness is not weakness, but rather an act of profound strength and deliberate control. The human tendency in heated situations is to react impulsively, often matching the energy of aggression with equal force. In a world that rewards quick retorts, sharp words, and emotional outbursts, it takes incredible discipline to pause, breathe, and respond with composure. Jasmine Crockett's reply to Kellyanne Conway serves as a reminder that the loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. Power rests in the individual who can hold their ground without losing their temper, who can face insults and remain unshaken, and who understands that composure is not the absence of emotion but the mastery of it. This mastery commands attention not because of its volume, but because of its undeniable authority. Composure in chaos is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to stability in moments of disorder. Imagine a storm at sea, waves crashing violently against a ship, winds tearing through sails, and the crew panicking as the vessel tosses about. In such moments, the presence of a calm captain at the helm can restore faith and courage. The captain may not stop the storm, but his composure reassures everyone that the storm will be weathered. This metaphor applies directly to moments of public confrontation. When Kellyanne Conway raised her voice, she embodied the storm, fierce and unrelenting. Jasmine Crockett, however, stood as the captain, unmoved, calm, and focused. It was that composure that resonated with viewers, turning a heated exchange into a viral lesson in leadership. Psychologists often speak of emotional contagion, the way emotion spread from one person to another like wildfire. Anger fuels anger, panic fuels panic, and chaos fuels chaos. But composure interrupts that chain reaction. A calm presence diffuses tension, lowers defenses, and shifts the emotional dynamic of the room. When Jasmine Crockett refused to engage in the same energy that was being thrown at her, she effectively broke the cycle of escalation. Instead of fueling Conway's anger, she redirected the attention toward her own steadiness, making Conway appear unstable while she appeared grounded. This is the unseen advantage of composure. It silently redefines who holds the upper hand without needing to raise a single word above a normal tone. History is full of figures who prove that composure in moments of chaos is the hallmark of great leadership. Leaders like Nelson Mandela, who endured decades of imprisonment without allowing bitterness to consume him, or Martin Luther King Jr., who faced hostility and violence with unwavering dignity, demonstrate that true influence is not born from aggression but from calm resilience. In each of these figures, the ability to remain composed under intense pressure amplified their credibility. They were tested by storms far greater than television debates, yet their calm became their weapon, their shield, and their legacy. Jasmine Crockett's moment, though on a smaller stage, echoes that timeless lesson. Composure also creates clarity. In the noise of conflict, words can easily become distorted, intentions misunderstood, and messages lost. When a person remains calm, their words carry greater weight because they are not competing with shouting or emotional excess. They cut through the noise like a clear bell in a crowded square. Jasmine Crockett's calm response was not just powerful because of what she said, but because her delivery was controlled, measured, and deliberate. Her calmness gave her words an amplified impact, ensuring that her point was not lost in the chaos. This is an essential truth for anyone who wishes to lead, to influence, or to inspire. Words spoken in calm are more likely to be remembered than words screamed in anger. Composure is also a tool of self-preservation. When anger takes over, it blinds judgment, narrows perspective, and often leads to regretful choices. In contrast, composure allows space for thoughtful action. It provides the mental clarity to see beyond the immediate conflict and to recognize the bigger picture. Kellyanne Conway's outburst may have felt satisfying in the moment, but it was Jasmine Crockett's restraint that won the audience and, ultimately, the narrative. She preserved her dignity, her credibility, and her authority by choosing composure over chaos. In doing so, she showed that restraint is not passivity but wisdom, an intentional choice to protect one's power rather than surrender it to impulse. Moreover, composure builds trust. People trust those who remain steady in unpredictable moments. A leader who panics when pressure rises loses credibility, while a leader who remains calm inspires confidence. Viewers who watched the exchange saw not just an argument, but a demonstration of which figure they could trust in moments of crisis. It was not the one screaming for attention, but the one calmly commanding respect. Trust is not won through noise, it is won through steadiness, reliability, and composure. This is why so many viewers gravitated toward Jasmine Crockett's demeanor. It felt safe, grounded, and dependable in the midst of chaos. Another dimension of composure in chaos is that it shifts power from reaction to response. Reacting is impulsive, responding is intentional. The difference between the two lies in the pause, the breath, the space one creates before speaking or acting. This pause is where power resides. It shows that you are not controlled by the environment around you, but that you control your own presence within it. Jasmine Crockett's viral moment is a testament to the power of responding rather than reacting. In refusing to mirror Conway's energy, she showed that her strength lay not in dominating the noise but in rising above it. For those seeking to apply this lesson in their own lives, composure in chaos is not an abstract ideal but a practical skill that can be cultivated. It requires practice in self-awareness, the ability to recognize emotional triggers before they explode. It requires discipline in self-regulation, choosing to pause instead of reacting. It requires perspective, seeing beyond the immediate chaos to understand that most storms eventually pass. And above all, it requires confidence in oneself, the belief that one's power is not diminished by calmness but magnified by it. Whether in the workplace, in relationships, in leadership roles, or even in everyday interactions, the ability to remain composed when others lose control can redefine outcomes. A heated argument with a colleague can be diffused by composure. A crisis at work can be managed more effectively by a calm leader. A personal conflict can shift toward resolution rather than escalation when one party chooses to stay steady. In each case, composure is not about avoiding conflict but about controlling the energy you bring into it, ensuring that the conflict does not control you. The world is filled with noise, with people competing to be heard by shouting louder, arguing harder, and demanding more attention. But history remembers those who choose the opposite path, those who reveal strength not through aggression but through calmness. Jasmine Crockett's calm reply to Kellyanne Conway's screams became viral because it reflected a universal truth people admire: composure is the rarest and most powerful response in moments of chaos. It is not about being silent, it is about being centered. It is not about retreating, it is about rising above. It is not about avoiding conflict, it is about transforming it through self-mastery. Conflict has always been a natural part of human interaction, whether in politics, business, or personal relationships, and with conflict comes criticism, confrontation, and at times public attack. Most people dread these moments, avoiding them or shrinking under their weight, yet history shows us that the most powerful figures are not the ones who escape criticism but the ones who transform it into an opportunity. When Kellyanne Conway screamed on live television, aiming to overpower Jasmine Crockett with volume and aggression, many viewers expected the exchange to spiral into hostility. Instead, Jasmine's calm and steady reply reshaped the entire moment, turning what was meant as an attack into a platform that highlighted her strength, poise, and credibility. This illustrates a timeless lesson: every attack can be a stepping stone, every criticism can be fuel, and every confrontation can be an opportunity if one has the courage and wisdom to see it as such. The instinctive reaction to an attack is defense. People naturally want to protect themselves from verbal strikes by firing back with equal or greater intensity. But when one chooses to reframe the situation, to look beyond the sting of the moment, a new possibility emerges. The attack can be used as a showcase of character. Kellyanne Conway's outburst was meant to belittle and destabilize Jasmine Crockett, but it ultimately became the very stage on which Jasmine's calm demeanor could shine. Instead of proving Conway right by reacting angrily, Jasmine turned the moment into a demonstration of strength that could not be shaken. By refusing to be dragged into the mud, she showed that her power was rooted not in noise but in control. This reversal is the essence of turning attacks into opportunities. The attack loses its destructive power when it becomes the very reason others notice your resilience. Criticism, though painful, often provides visibility. Many people spend their lives trying to be noticed, to have their voices heard in crowded spaces, and yet criticism often does that work for them. It draws attention, even if negatively at first, and creates a moment in which the criticized person has the chance to shape perceptions. If handled poorly, criticism confirms the attacker's claims, but if handled wisely, it flips the narrative entirely. In Jasmine Crockett's case, millions who might not have paid attention to the debate suddenly became aware of her because of the confrontation. The very attempt to silence her amplified her platform. This is the paradox of criticism. Those who try to bury you often end up giving you the spotlight, and it is in how you use that spotlight that your legacy is shaped. Public life is filled with examples of figures who mastered this art of turning criticism into opportunity. Consider Abraham Lincoln, who was ridiculed as awkward, unrefined, and unelectable, yet he used these attacks to craft a public image of humility and authenticity that resonated deeply with people. Or Winston Churchill, who endured constant criticism for his decisions, yet used those moments to sharpen his rhetoric and reinforce his determination. In the modern age, with social media amplifying every word and misstep, this ability is even more crucial. Attacks spread faster than ever, but so do powerful responses. Jasmine Crockett's calm reaction went viral precisely because she did not squander the moment with retaliation. She transformed the confrontation into a display of leadership. Confrontation also exposes the true character of individuals. When everything is going well, it is easy to appear composed, confident, and capable. But when you are under fire, when you are being shouted at, insulted, or dismissed, that is when people see who you truly are. In these crucibles, attacks reveal more about the attacker than the target, but they also give the target a choice, to fall into the same chaos or to rise above it. By choosing composure, Jasmine showed viewers that she was more than just another politician in a shouting match. She was someone who could withstand pressure without losing herself. This ability to maintain authenticity under attack is one of the clearest indicators of genuine leadership. Another way to look at turning attacks into opportunities is through the lens of growth. Criticism, even if harsh or unfair, can serve as a mirror, showing you blind spots or weaknesses that may otherwise go unnoticed. The sting of confrontation can be the catalyst for introspection and improvement. Many successful leaders recall that the harshest criticism they received early in their careers pushed them to refine their skills, sharpen their ideas, and strengthen their resilience. While Kellyanne Conway's outburst was more about overpowering than offering constructive critique, the lesson for viewers was still valuable. Attacks are inevitable, but what matters is what you do with them. You can allow them to break you, or you can let them forge you into something stronger. In every attack, there also lies the chance to control the narrative. People often remember not what was said but how someone responded. A cruel remark can fade from memory, but a poised and powerful response can echo for years. This is why many iconic public moments come from unexpected confrontations. Think of leaders who delivered their most memorable lines when challenged, comedians who turned heckling into the highlight of their shows, or athletes who responded to boos with unforgettable performances. In each case, the attack was not the defining feature, it was the response. Jasmine Crockett's calm reply will be remembered far longer than Kellyanne Conway's outburst, because composure has a way of imprinting itself on memory in a way that noise never can. It is also important to recognize that confrontation creates contrast. Without Conway's screams, Jasmine's calmness would not have seemed as remarkable. Without hostility, composure might not appear as powerful. The very intensity of the attack provided the backdrop that made Jasmine's steadiness shine. This suggests that attacks can actually provide the contrast needed to highlight one's strengths. In ordinary circumstances, calmness may be overlooked, but in the face of chaos, it becomes extraordinary. Attacks, therefore, can serve as unintentional spotlights, bringing out qualities that might otherwise go unnoticed. Beyond individual growth, turning attacks into opportunities has a collective impact. When someone stands firm under attack, they do not just inspire admiration for themselves, they inspire others who witness the moment. People watching Jasmine Crockett saw more than just a debate, they saw a lesson in self-control, in rising above hostility, and in using grace as a form of power. Many viewers likely reflected on their own lives, recalling moments when they had been attacked, insulted, or dismissed, and imagining how they might have responded differently. By turning an attack into an opportunity, one person can shift the mindset of countless others, encouraging them to rethink their own approach to conflict. This principle extends into everyday life beyond politics or television. In the workplace, for example, an employee may face unfair criticism from a superior. Rather than lashing out or retreating, if they respond calmly and use the criticism as a chance to show their professionalism, they may win respect from colleagues and open doors for future advancement. In personal relationships, when tempers flare, choosing to remain calm and constructive can transform a fight into a deeper understanding. In business, competitors may launch attacks, but wise entrepreneurs know how to turn those attacks into free publicity, showcasing their resilience and vision. The ability to reframe confrontation as opportunity is a skill that applies to every sphere of life. What makes this transformation possible is mindset. To see attacks as opportunities requires a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing criticism as a threat, one must view it as a challenge to rise above. Instead of fearing confrontation, one must see it as a stage to demonstrate strength. This does not mean welcoming hostility, but it does mean recognizing that hostility is inevitable and that within it lies potential. When Kellyanne Conway screamed, she intended to diminish Jasmine Crockett, but because Jasmine approached the moment with composure, it became a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Ultimately, attacks are not avoidable, but they are not the end. They are moments, fleeting but powerful, that can either derail someone or propel them forward. The difference lies not in the attack itself but in the response. Those who choose to see every confrontation as an invitation to grow, to show strength, and to lead, discover that what was meant to harm them often ends up becoming the very thing that elevates them. Emotional intelligence has become one of the most defining qualities of effective leadership in the modern age, not because it silences conflict but because it equips leaders with the ability to navigate it with clarity and composure. In a world where voices are constantly raised, where debates quickly spiral into shouting matches, and where the loudest person often seems to command the most attention, it is easy to forget that true influence does not come from volume. True influence comes from presence, from the ability to regulate one's emotions, to understand the emotions of others, and to respond with balance instead of impulse. When Kellyanne Conway erupted on live television and tried to dominate Jasmine Crockett with loudness and anger, the contrast could not have been more striking. Jasmine's calm reply revealed the deep power of emotional intelligence, proving that leadership is not defined by who can scream the loudest, but by who can maintain clarity when chaos takes over. At its core, emotional intelligence is about mastery of the self. Many people believe leadership is about commanding others, but the truth is that the most effective leaders are those who have first mastered their own reactions, impulses, and emotions. Without this mastery, leadership becomes unstable, easily thrown off course by provocation or conflict. Jasmine Crockett's ability to remain calm in the face of Conway's outburst showed that her leadership rested on a foundation of inner control. She did not allow Conway's words to dictate her response. Instead, she chose to manage her own presence, showing that emotional intelligence is not about suppressing emotion but about channeling it with purpose. This choice elevated her in the eyes of viewers because it revealed a quality rare in public confrontations, the ability to lead oneself before attempting to lead others. Another element of emotional intelligence is empathy, the ability to recognize and understand the emotions of others, even when those emotions manifest as hostility. In a heated exchange, empathy does not mean agreeing with the other person, but it does mean understanding where their energy comes from. Anger is often a sign of fear, insecurity, or frustration. When Conway raised her voice, Jasmine Crockett could have taken it as a personal attack and responded in kind. Instead, her steady composure reflected a deeper awareness, an understanding that reacting emotionally would only fuel the fire. By holding her ground with calmness, she allowed Conway's emotions to remain hers alone, refusing to absorb them or let them define the interaction. This separation of emotions is a hallmark of emotional intelligence, the recognition that you cannot always control what others do, but you can control how much of it you allow into your own state of mind. Emotional intelligence also provides clarity in communication. In moments of high tension, words can easily be lost or distorted when they are shouted in anger. People rarely remember the details of what was said in a heated exchange, but they always remember the tone, the energy, and the presence of the individuals involved. A calm, steady tone carries weight not because it overpowers others, but because it cuts through noise with precision. Jasmine's reply resonated so widely because it carried a quality of control. Viewers could hear her clearly, process her words, and absorb her message without distraction. In contrast, Conway's volume may have grabbed attention in the moment, but it lacked the staying power of Crockett's controlled delivery. This demonstrates that emotional intelligence enhances communication by ensuring that the message is not buried under emotion but carried with intention. Leadership defined by emotional intelligence also inspires trust. People are naturally drawn to leaders who remain steady in unpredictable situations. They want to know that when challenges arise, the person guiding them will not be consumed by panic, anger, or rash decisions. In the live television exchange, viewers instinctively compared the two women not just on the basis of their words but on the basis of their demeanor. One appeared unsteady, emotional, and reactive. The other appeared composed, grounded, and focused. Trust forms in those contrasts. People begin to ask themselves who they would rather follow in a real crisis, and the answer almost always lies with the one who demonstrates emotional intelligence. This is why Crockett's response was seen not only as clever but as inspiring. It positioned her as someone who could be relied upon when pressure mounted. Another strength of emotional intelligence in leadership is its ability to diffuse conflict rather than escalate it. When confronted with aggression, most people instinctively mirror the energy they receive. Anger meets anger, shouting meets shouting, and chaos grows louder. Yet the cycle of escalation can only be broken when one person chooses to respond differently. That choice requires emotional intelligence, the ability to resist the pull of emotional contagion and instead project calmness. By staying steady, Jasmine Crockett diffused the confrontation without even needing to call for peace. Her very demeanor disrupted the escalation, making it clear that she would not play the same game. Leaders who understand this principle know that one of their greatest powers lies not in controlling others but in setting the tone. Emotional intelligence allows them to do so effectively, leading not by force but by example. It is also worth recognizing that emotional intelligence amplifies credibility. People may be impressed by quick wit or passionate rhetoric, but what truly endures is the perception of stability. Leaders with emotional intelligence are seen as thoughtful, measured, and capable of seeing beyond the heat of the moment. Their words carry a sense of reliability because they are not spoken in haste. In Crockett's exchange, her calm response suggested thoughtfulness, even in the face of attack. This is the kind of credibility that strengthens reputations over time. People remember not just what was said, but the quality of the character behind it. Emotional intelligence ensures that character shines through, especially when others are losing theirs. Emotional intelligence is also a strategic advantage in persuasion. When people are emotional, they are less rational, more impulsive, and often less credible to observers. By contrast, someone who maintains control over their emotions appears more reasonable, thoughtful, and persuasive. In debates or confrontations, the individual who can manage emotions best is often the one who persuades the audience, even if they are not persuading their opponent. Crockett's composure may not have changed Conway's mind, but it changed the perception of everyone watching. This highlights an important truth: emotional intelligence in leadership is not about winning arguments, it is about winning people. By maintaining calm, a leader speaks not only to the person in front of them but to all those silently observing, showing them what strength looks like in practice. Developing emotional intelligence requires intentional effort. It is not a quality that comes automatically but one that grows through reflection, practice, and experience. Leaders who embody it often begin by cultivating self-awareness, paying attention to their triggers and learning how to regulate their responses. They practice pausing before reacting, creating space for intentionality. They also build empathy, learning to read others' emotions without being overtaken by them. They refine their communication, recognizing that how something is said matters just as much as what is said. These practices do not eliminate emotion, they refine it, ensuring that emotion serves leadership rather than undermines it. Emotional intelligence also demands resilience. It is easy to remain calm when nothing is at stake, but it is far more difficult when confronted with hostility, insult, or high-pressure situations. Yet it is precisely in those difficult moments that emotional intelligence proves its worth. Crockett's calmness during Conway's outburst was not a passive act, it was an act of resilience, a choice to remain grounded when provoked. This kind of resilience is contagious. Those who witness it feel inspired to find their own center in moments of pressure. Emotional intelligence, therefore, not only strengthens the leader but strengthens those who look to that leader for guidance. One of the most profound aspects of emotional intelligence in leadership is its ability to transform perception. The same situation can be seen in completely different ways depending on how it is handled. A shouting match between two people can leave both looking diminished, but when one person rises above, the entire narrative changes. What could have been just another television argument became a viral moment of leadership because Crockett demonstrated emotional intelligence. She transformed the scene from chaos into a lesson in calm, from confrontation into inspiration. This transformation is available to anyone willing to cultivate emotional intelligence. It is not limited to politics or public life. It applies to boardrooms, classrooms, families, and communities. Wherever people clash, there is an opportunity for leadership through emotional mastery. At its deepest level, emotional intelligence redefines what it means to be strong. Strength has often been associated with dominance, with the ability to shout the loudest or force others into submission. But true strength lies in the opposite. It lies in the ability to control oneself when others cannot, to remain calm when others rage, and to offer clarity when others create confusion. Jasmine Crockett's viral moment reminded the world that strength is not found in volume but in vision, not in force but in focus, not in chaos but in calm.